what was your biggest takeaway?
Well, you make it sound like I'm you, Skip, talking about the Cowboys did everything right except win. Talking about almost a good call. Yeah, it was almost a good call. But my biggest takeaway is, well, there's two takeaways. James Harden played phenomenal to me, did everything that you wanted him to do. I understand they're 0-5 with him in the lineup. But Paul George, 4 of 11 from downtown, and particularly in the fourth quarter, he could not close things out the way that he needed to. I don't understand where his three-point shooting percentage is gone, especially in closeout situations. They had an opportunity to go up and win that game. Then when I look at the Zubac situation, it was really weird to me why he got the fouls. But why would he come back in with 13 seconds to go opposed to bringing him in the, let's say, 6 minutes to go in the game or so to slow down the Joker, because Joker had his way in the paint.
He did.
They could not stop him. You put P.J. Tucker, small. You put Paul George, small. You put Kawhi Leonard, small. The best thing you could do is maybe double down on him by having Zubac and then closing on him with another guy, because two small guys, all he was doing was basically playing little league basketball as an adult, doing one of these numbers and going up to the rim. So when I looked at that, I was like, is Ty Lue missing something?
No.
Or is he ticked off at Z that he doesn't want to put him back in the game, Skip?
Keyshawn,
I didn't understand that.
It's called juggling superstar egos. You got too many to juggle. The easiest ego to stay on the bench is Big Z, right? He's the only one who's not going to complain about it.
Yeah, I mean,
well, but if you take him
I got
off,
you. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and
you're
so
right.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand that in the Paul George situation. In the end, though, it was a little bit head scratching because he was taking some awful shots. Well, he really was taking awful shots.
I'd say. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I think they found a weakness when Zubac was in the game. They would screen and roll, they'd pick and roll, they'd screen him off of him, end up with a small on him anyway, and then Zubac's guarding a guard and trying to close in the paint and leaving somebody wide open. So that was a weakness that Ty Lue saw was being exploited. That's why he brought Zubac out of the game and put P.J. Tucker in, a better perimeter defender potentially when they have these pick and roll situations, so they could switch everything and feel good about it. But at the end of the day, they were going to take advantage of it. This was one of the weaknesses I thought this team would have when they first acquired James Harden, is that they weren't going to be a big enough team to deal with Jokic and Porter Jr. and this team, Caldwell Pope, who's a really tall, they're a lengthy team. Gordon had a really good game. He had a really, really good game.
Yep.
They just had too much size for the Clippers down the stretch, but the Clippers were in the game. It was a dogfight. You know, you look at that missed layup by James Harden, that would have tied the game. And it looked like a good drive. He blew by. He just missed a layup. He barely missed it. So, you know, this team is coming together. They're finding some things that work. We're sitting here criticizing and being hypercritical of it, but they were in the game. This wasn't a blowout. This was a game that they were in all the way to the waning seconds of the game. A missed shot, the three-pointer that Paul George shot that got stuck in the rim. That was a potential game-tying shot.
It was.
So I'm not going to sit here and kill him. They're 6 games into this. Ty Lue said give him 10, and I'll give him 10.
All right. To both of your points, the key stat from last night was points in the paint. Would you believe the home team had 58 points in the paint to 38 for the Clippers? 58 to 38 points in the paint. Every time I looked up, somebody else was dunking because it was Dunk City in Denver last night. And then to your other point, Paul George has shot the ball miserably since James joined. But last night, for whatever reason, he was feeling real good about his jumper. And much of the night, it was falling. And it was mostly on his shoulders that they actually took a lead of up 7 with 6 minutes left. They're up 7, mostly because of Paul George, who wound up taking 9 more shots than any other Clipper. Well, that's what's wrong with their offense. There's no ball movement. It's just your turn, my turn, your turn. Well, tonight it's Paul. Let's just let him go. And it's so much ISO ball. Okay, just flip it over to Paul over on the wing and just let him dribble, 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 dribble. This team will lead the league in dribbles, and it will be at the bottom of the league in ball movement, in passes per possession, because they don't pass the ball much at all. It's just whoever comes up with the first pass is probably going to work for a shot and shoot it. So Paul took 26 shots, and he made 13, which is pretty good. But to Keyshawn's point, when you really needed it, it was not there. And then it was very interesting to me in the fourth quarter. So you go up 7 with 6 minutes left. And now you got to make a choice, Ty Lue. Who's going to close for you? And I love this choice. He pulled Russ out of the game. And Russ, trust me on this, he will not love this. Even as we speak, he may be somewhere grousing about this because he got yanked when he was playing pretty well. And so was James. To Keyshawn's point, James was having a pretty good game. 7 of 15. He was 3 of 8 from 3, had 21 points. So he says, no, I want James Harden to close this game for me. So James played the last 5-6 minutes of the game. And what happened over that stretch? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Denver goes on a 17-5 run. And James in the fourth quarter, Richard mentioned the one shot that he missed, the driving layup. And I thought he got there, and he just left it a little short off the edge of the rim. It looked like I thought he was going to go in for a second. It just barely fell off the front of the rim. The point is, that was the only shot James took in the fourth quarter, which was weird to me because I thought he had kind of a hot hand, too, that he and Paul could kind of share the load down the stretch and close this one out. But they go on a 17-5 run. And then it looked like all of a sudden Denver was going to go up 7 because Reggie Jackson, who played a terrific game, ex-Clipper, ex-Thunder, he's going to the free throw line just to ice the game with 31 seconds left. And I think we have these, he just clanks them both. And they were brick, man. This guy can shoot it, and that's long, like way long, complete back iron. And then this one is a big clanker. And all of a sudden, you're like, wait, the door opened. Then Joker, he's been wont to do this late in games, he turned it over. Kawhi stole it from him. Paul George gets just a bunny freebie layup, and all of a sudden you're thinking, wait a second, the Clippers got a real shot here. Here's Joker's bad pass that Kawhi stole, and all of a sudden, here we go.
I thought that was travel, but
okay, but they don't call that. They never call that.
No,
okay?
they don't call that. Not at all. Not at all.
Let's go to the last shot because this is Paul George saying, "This is my night," and KCP just got up into him, and it's a hard shot, and I think it's a bad shot. I mean, you can do a little better than that.
It's a bad shot. That's what I said.
I mean,
his shot selection late was horrible.
It was horrible.
Well, they tried to run a play for Kawhi. They switched it. Michael Porter Jr. switched on to Kawhi. They closed it off, so he had to go ISO ball. So Ty Lue drew up the play for Kawhi. You can watch their screening. You can watch Zubac screening.
I got it, but I don't think Paul ever had any notion of passing the basketball. I think he thought, it's my night. I got a hot hand. I'm going to shoot this basketball. That's how they play offense. It's whoever's turn it is. It was his turn. And he jacks it up and wedgies it, which is hard to do. It's about 1,000,000-to-1 shot that you would wedgie a three-point shot from that distance. So now it's a jump ball, and you lose the tip, and Reggie Jackson gets it, and it's game over. But to Keyshawn's point,
I think Skip right there, he was looking to pass it on the right side, but Kawhi couldn't get to the top. Yeah. And when he couldn't get to the top, it forced him to have to take the shot. Right there, he's looking to pass it. Yeah. But Kawhi didn't get there fast enough, so the seconds was coming off the clock, so he had to take the shot. It just was a bad shot, bad angle based on the seconds going down and Kawhi not being able to get to the top.
Yeah, they ran a good defensive set. Michael Porter Jr. passed it off and picked up Kawhi. That closed off the lane for the pass, the play they were looking to run, so he had to go find a shot for himself, which is fine. I think Ty Lue is still experimenting with the lineup, still trying to figure out what works. But to your point, Skip, Russ, you can only take it for so long. He is being very unselfish. He's being a great teammate. Yep. And so's James, so's Kawhi, so's Paul. But if you continue to lose, and a guy is sitting on the bench feeling like he can help, he's going to get frustrated. I would get frustrated if I feel like, hey, we're losing, and I feel like I could help our team win ball games. I'm going to get frustrated. Now, if they're winning ball games,
this is a different type of losing, though.
I 100%.
This ain't losing because y'all are just bad. They trying to figure it out.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying they are figuring it out. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if it continues, though, this is 6 losses consecutively. So if they continue to lose, human nature still kicks in, Keyshawn. These are competitors. So I understand they're not losing, getting blown out or getting blown away, and it's just awful basketball. That's not what's happening. James didn't play awful down the stretch, so there's really not an argument there. But as a competitor, as a top-notch player, like Russell Westbrook has been throughout his career, and he's sitting on the bench while his team isn't winning ball games, you will grow frustrated. I would grow frustrated anyway, even if I'm like, hey, that guy's playing pretty good.
But this is the thing. It's not going to continue. They're not going to all of a sudden be 0-15. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean, they were so close last night. Eventually, it's going to pop, and then they're going to start to win games. And when Skip said this a couple of minutes ago about Westbrook coming out off the floor with 6 minutes to go, one of the first things I did was I looked at his body language because I was like, oh, Russ going to be mad. And I looked at it, and I was like, oh, he cool with it. He ain't tripping. He, dapping everybody up.
Right.
He didn't walk off with his head down, nothing like that. To me, that tells me, okay, he's buying in to the situation at hand. He's not into this.
They lost. Now we'll see how Russ reacts.
I understand they lost. Yeah, I understand they lost, Skip, but it's a work in progress,
no
man.
Question.
This is not all of a sudden 49 games into the season and this is happening.
He's a grown man. He's grown. He's understanding, hey, they're still working through this rotation. They're still figuring things out. This may not be how it ends up in January, February, April, playoff time, or any of that. I'm not saying any of that, Key. What I'm saying is, if they bench him and continue to bench him in games in which they lose, any human being would grow frustrated, and they have lost 6 straight. So nobody could have foreseen them losing 6 straight with the amount of talent that they have on this team. And so I can't assume they're going to lose 15 straight, and I never would assume they're going to lose 15 straight. That would be ridiculous.
Just, Keyshawn, remember, Russ had to sit over there because he left when they were up 7, and he had to watch them lose the lead and go down almost 7, because if Reggie Jackson makes the 2 free throws, Denver's up 7. So Russ had to sit over there and think, wait a second, why am I over here? And I got to give him one big compliment. Russ played his tail off on the defensive end last night.
Yes,
he was working hard on entry passes, just getting up and knocking them away. He fought his tail off. I was impressed with that part. And yet,
Skip, in all this, I really don't give a damn. I'm just talking about the Clippers because I have to. As far as I'm concerned, they can lose every damn game the rest of the season because they're not the Lakers, and I can't stand the Clippers, but I'm forced to have to talk about them.
I actually think you have a little bit of closet Clipper fan in you just because they are an LA team, and you are now intrigued. You can't take your eyes off them because they got 4 future Hall of Famers.
Look, I was in high school. I'm a fan of James and Russ because I was in school in LA at a time where James was at Artesia, Russ was at Lou Zinger, DeMar DeRozan was at Compton High, Aaron Afalo was at Centennial. This was LA basketball was crazy at that time, and these are my peers. So I'm a fan watching them at all times, but I just feel like
individually, I'm a fan of all of them. Collectively, man, I don't give a damn. I hope they lose. I hope they lose.
All right. Well, Keyshawn, up next, I'm going to give you a chance to talk about the only team that matters in Los Angeles, according to you, because we need to ask the question of just how impressive were LeBron's Lakers last night? Just how impressive?
Championship.
Yeah, here we go. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.